baby too has no heartbeat. 5 piercing words no expecting parents should ever have to hear. Yet, on October 15th, 2014, these were precisely the words my wife and I had to endure. We stared at each other hopelessly across that medically sterile observation room as the doctor quickly rushed out to make arrangements. We were overcome by sadness, by fear, anxiety, disbelief, frustration, and a complete loss for faith in all things we know true. You see, this wasn't just any old medical checkup. Only weeks ago, we had found out that we were pregnant with identical twin girls. The excitement was boundless. And given that our family was so far away in the United States, a toddler at home, and 2 on the way, we had just decided that it was time to head back. Singapore was no longer going to be our home. We were heading back to the United States. We'd packed our bags, we'd bought our flight tickets. This was our fit to fly kind of test, the final green light that we needed before we set sail. But 2 things, amongst all the chaos that day, 2 things that became crystal clear. We were not heading back to the United States, and we were not going to be parents to identical twin daughters. The days that followed were just as confusing. I found myself doing shuttles between the airport, the maternity ward, the NICU, the police station, the crematorium, back home to check on my toddler for just a second every time I got a moment to spare. I was myself going through a whole range of emotions that I had never experienced before. They came in waves, and they almost always ended with a flood of tears on my face. You see, I don't want to necessarily play out the Indian male stereotype, but we don't come pre-programmed with all emotions. We sure don't know how to express them. This was my emotions boot camp, one that I had not signed up for, but perhaps one that I desperately needed to get through life. My daughter in the NICU wasn't doing that well either. You see, she was born at 29 weeks, way too premature, not close to full term. She failed every medical test to start. She had issues in the heart, she had issues in the hearing, she had issues with her eyesight, she had many brain scans that came back inconclusive, she had a hernia that she had developed, and she was given less than great odds for survival. But yet, every day I would watch her through that transparent, bubble, and I would see her just fight for life. My wife would reassure me every day as I broke down that she was beautiful, that she was alive, that she was fighting, and that she was going to make it. These words remained in my life for years to come. On the work front, things weren't going that great either. I was called back in the middle of all this to lay off 30% of my team. You see, my company had decided to go public. I went back to the office. People came out of nowhere to give me hugs. There was a lot of compassion. There was a lot of tears. People were congratulating me and expressing their condolences. I laid them off. It was cold. It was soulless. And it was extremely clarifying for me. That week, I quit my job. Days passed. The grief got a little bit lesser. Weeks passed. The baby got a lot stronger. And then a few months later, she came home. And then the dreaded question appeared. What next? I founded Paysense in 2015. It was a company that I had thought about for many, many, many years prior. This wasn't my first startup. What I'm about to share is a founder's story in 3 parts. The startup, the journey, and the win, all in the backdrop of what I just shared with you. The start. I had thought about starting up for many, many years. Most founders will get on stage and tell you that their startup started off with a flash of brilliance, a purpose for self-actualization, or a mission that pulled them forward. Mine was anything but that. I started off in the deep pits of darkness. I had only one pursuit: to escape my living hell reality. And that's how I got going. Oh. While the startup was a little bit extraordinary, the journey was quite ordinary. For me, Paysense was always about the people. And we had a very good collection of people that joined us very early on, a lot of mission-driven people, a lot of purpose-driven people that I surrounded myself with. But every time someone would leave, it would tear a little bit of that fabric of that startup culture. The business had its ups and downs. We had poor product market fit early, while raising capital in 2015 was easy. 2016 got a lot harder. There was a lot of competition that propped up, a lot of regulation that came in, and our partners got a little bit jittery as we went along. But that didn't matter. It was always about the people. The people, and when they left, would always rip a little tear in the soul of everything I believed in. One story that comes to mind, I remember flying in from India to Singapore in the middle of 2016 to do a fundraise. You see, we'd tried to raise capital at that time, past our seed capital. We'd done 26 pitches. All 26 had resulted in a rejection. This was my 27th. I'd flown in overnight. It was a short flight, red eye. I was bleary-eyed. I walked into the office, and my CFO and COO, and who was also playing this chief risk officer role at the time, walked up to me and said, "We quit. We no longer believe in the future of this company. We don't believe in your leadership, and we're out." That was a bomb that went off inside me. I had completely lost all faith in being able to navigate this company to the next level. I had, at that point, decided to quit. I was almost about to just throw in the towel, but I found myself strangely in the taxi, heading to the investor's office, and there was only one vision in my face. It was the baby in the little transparent bubble. That's all I could see. And all I could hear in my head was the voice of my wife that said, "She's beautiful, she's alive, she's trying, and she'll be okay." I don't know what happened in that meeting, because I walked in and I think I just blurted that out. I just said, "Hey, yeah, Paysense is beautiful, she's trying, she's struggling, but she'll make it." And for some reason, they were convinced and they wrote me that check. Anyway, we sailed on. The company was fine. We got a strategic investor in place. So our financial woes are gone. Or they were gone until one day in 2019, I got a phone call. Our deep strategic investor had decided that we were not it. They were going to place a parallel bet. In fact, they had called us to say that they were no longer going to continue to fund us. I had the baby has no heartbeat moment all over again. But this time around, something was different. I didn't go into the state of complete panic. I didn't self-implode. I took a day. I pulled the team together. I pulled the board together. And I said, "Look, this is not the end of the world. We can figure out a bridge." We only had about a month's worth of payroll left in the bank. So we pulled off a bridge. So it was convincing. I was confident. People saw that. We pulled off a bridge. Fast forward, at the end of 2020, at the end of 2019, early 2020, we were acquired. This was a landmark deal in the India fintech ecosystem. We pulled this off, and I saw a whole lot of happiness. There were so many cheers, so we threw a little party for ourselves. Right? This was a big deal. A lot of millionaires were created. People had paid off all their debts. People had bought homes. People had taken a trip that they'd never taken before. And this was a great moment to celebrate. And as I watched everyone celebrate, there were some 200 of them that we had together. One thing dawned on me. For all this happiness, for all this smiles to be created, I guess all those years ago, all those tears had to be shed. Now, adversity, pain, and loneliness, no one seeks out. These are not experiences any one of us are fond of. But these are life's greatest gifts that prepare us for the future. That was a realization that sunk in deeply on that particular day for me. Even to this day, when people come up to me and ask me, what prepared me for my startup? What prepared me, or what inspired me to do it all over again? I simply say, it was the daughter that left us, and in equal parts, the daughter that stayed. Thank you very much.